Stanford University.
Thank you. No pressure there, dynamic speakers, so yeah, here we go. Once again, thanks for having us, and thanks for putting this day together. As Dr. Ketter mentioned, I think it was probably about 5 years ago when I was sitting right where you're at, and I was trying to manage my diagnosis of bipolar disorder, and really just trying to learn a lot. I was really confused on a lot of the terminology, and as they talked about the DSM-5, you know, what do those words mean, like delusion or psychosis or suicidal grandiosity. I did not have a clue what any of that meant. But through coming to seminars like this, the Education Day, and also getting affiliated with different organizations, I was able to learn about that. And that's, for me, is kind of a celebration every year of that time and learning more about mental illness, specifically with me, bipolar disorder. So I got involved with a group called NAMI. What is NAMI? NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization dedicated to improving the lives of individuals and families affected by mental illness. NAMI has over 1,200 affiliates in communities across the country who engage in advocacy, research, support, and education. Members of NAMI are families, friends, and people living with mental illness such as major depression, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, panic disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and borderline personality disorder. I'm very fortunate to be able to go around the nation and be a part of NAMI. I'm an In Our Own Voice presenter and trainer, so I get to meet people from around the nation and help them tell their stories, give them the ability and the skills to tell their stories. And it's funny, when I'm down in San Diego, they say that NAMI was founded and started in San Diego. So when I'm in Tennessee, they say NAMI was founded and started in Tennessee. But we all know the truth. NAMI was started here in San Mateo County in this area, right? All right. And they have a lot of different programs. All their programs are free to the public that are sponsored by grants, and also I know locally we have the NAMI Walk every year, once a year, and I believe eight or nine NAMI affiliates in the area get together and put together a walk at Golden Gate Park. So it's one of the major fundraisers. And each affiliate's kind of independently run, so they have different programs. Not everybody has the same programs, but they are available through the national organization. Family to Family is a 12-week program. It's a course for families, partners, and friends of individuals with a serious mental illness. The course focuses on the emotional response families have to trauma of mental illness. Many family members describe their experience in the program as life-changing. As I mentioned before, the terminology and being thrown into this world of mental health and either a loved one or a friend or a spouse or a child dealing with mental illness, it very benefits families to get a part of this, get involved in this program, because they can sit and learn with other family members that are new to this experience. And they're trained by 2 family members that have gone through this experience. So it takes a little bit of that fear and that understanding and helps you understand better of maybe what you're dealing with or what you can do, what you may be facing in the future. And I've heard firsthand from family members that said it made a big difference. Even if a loved one was diagnosed, you know, months previously, maybe years previously, it really just kind of opens up the education aspect of it, and they're able to learn what it's like dealing with mental illness. Also, they rolls kind of into a family support group program, so they meet monthly. Meetings of caregivers of individuals with a mental illness, where family members can talk frankly about their challenges and help one another through their learned wisdom. These meetings are facilitated by trained NAMI members and affiliates across the country, and participants are encouraged to share actively in the workshop. So you really get to just bounce it off other families, and It's an excellent program. NAMI Basics. NAMI Basics is a 6-week program. I always wonder about that. Am I going to tap this thing or so? If I start tapping it, then just kind of let me know or something like that. But I get a little fidgety. I think Sherry Johnson was talking about that. Something that's exciting, like speaking at Stanford on a Saturday, you know, kind of gets me excited and worked up. Now, if it was at Cal and Dr. Ketter and the crew came over, I'd even be more excited. But it's a 6-week program. NAMI Basics is a new signature education program for parents and other caregivers of children and adolescents living with mental illnesses. The NAMI Basics course is taught by trained teachers who are the parent or other caregivers of individuals who develop the symptoms of mental illness prior to the age of 13 years. NAMI Provider Education Program. I've heard really good things about this also. It's a really good program. As a matter of fact, we're fortunate enough with NAMI Alameda County South, based out of the Fremont area. It's a new affiliate. We were able to go into John George Pavilion, which is the county psychiatric unit, and just this last June, and go in on the unit and share our stories of what it's like to live with mental illness. Not the actual acute unit. So it's really amazing to be on the unit and sharing our stories. I know El Camino Hospital also opened up their doors to having us come in and talk and share our story and hopefully inspire those who are just in trouble, and not trouble, but are symptomatic and going through that whole process. It was also a shot in the arm for the staff, because as you could imagine, the staff usually only deals with people with mental illness when they're symptomatic. So it was really encouraging for the staff to have us come in there and say, we're living in recovery, we're doing well, these are our coping skills, and share that with them. So the education program, it offers 30 hours of in-service training to line staff at public mental health agencies, taught by a trained 5-member team of family members, individuals living with mental illness, and a mental health provider who is either a family member or individual living with a mental illness. And I believe, yeah, so you can get CE units off of that also. Really, I think it's one of the newer programs, but it's a really highly recommended program. Peer-to-peer, 10-week program. Peer-to-peer is taught by a team of 2 trained mentors and a volunteer support person who are personally experienced at living well with mental illness. And I love that phrase, living well with mental illness. That's what I get to say. I live well with mental illness. If I'm behind the bills, I'm living well, but I owe some money to somebody, so. But living well with mental illness. Participants come away from the course with a binder in hand of materials, as well as many other tangible resources, an advance directive, a relapse prevention plan to help identify telltale feelings, thoughts, behaviors, or events that may warn of impending relapse, and to organize for intervention, mindfulness exercises to help focus and calm thinking, and survival skills for working with providers and the general public. I think we heard a lot about that today. I believe Dr. Culver talking about the CBT and the skills and how to apply them there, and also Professor Johnson. So you can see that's how important that is, and that's a peer-to-peer program. So that's a person diagnosed with a mental illness working with other people with a diagnosis of mental illness. So that whole awareness of where you're at. NAMI Connection, weekly 90-minute recovery support group for people living with mental illnesses, where people learn from one another's experience, share coping strategies, and offer mutual encouragement and understanding. The groups provide an ongoing opportunity to discuss the challenges of living with mental illness and the techniques for maintaining wellness. All groups are facilitated by peers living in recovery. That was a huge part of my recovery, or getting back into stability, was peer support groups. At the time, it was a DBSA, Depression Bipolar Support Alliance, peer support group, so they met every Wednesday. There was times when I didn't talk to anybody for maybe a month on end, and I was isolated, but I would show up on Wednesday because these were people that understood me and understood what I was going through, And I remember the first time that I really accepted that I was hypomanic was within a support group. Because these were people that I've talked to every week, and they understood what I was going through. And so I was sitting there tapping my finger, my knee was moving up and down. I was talking about a new job that I started and working 12 hours, and a new girlfriend I had, and a new business I was going to start, and you know, and I was going to win the lottery and speak at Stanford, and they're like, yeah, right. And so I remember a couple of the people say, Robert, calm down, you're hypomanic. I said, no, I'm not, I'm just doing great stuff. And another person, no, Robert, you're hypomanic. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And they said, yes, you are. And so after about the third person, I had to stop for a moment. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, look at you. And sure enough, you know, my chair had moved from here to over here because I was bouncing around so much. But I think that was really the first moment where I really embraced that what hypomania was and how to recognize it in myself and kind of accept it from others and say, okay, you're seeing a different point of view than I am. So NAMI Connections is a peer support group. In Our Own Voice, that's kind of my favorite. Not because it's my voice, it's the name of the program, but In Our Own Voice is a unique public education presentation that offers insight into the hope and recovery possible for people living with mental illness. Trained individuals living with mental illness lead a brief, yet comprehensive and interactive presentation about mental illness. So I think earlier we were talking about saying someone is bipolar, you know, like bipolar people. Well, a friend of mine, Lisa Corbin in Tennessee, one time we were talking and she said, you know, I was at the doctor's because I had nail fungus. And I'm like, nail fungus? She said, yeah. And so I wasn't proud of it, but I was sitting in the doctor's office and I'm thinking, yeah, I got to tell him I'm bipolar. And then she's like, wait a minute, I wouldn't say I'm nail fungus. So why would I say I'm bipolar? So ever since then, she kind of taught me how to say, you know, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, or I had the diagnosis of bipolar disorder, because I don't want to call myself nail fungus either. So, In Our Own Voice, what a great program. So In Our Own Voice is a program where two people that have been diagnosed with a mental illness go out and share their story. It's a 1-hour program. That is promoted by NAMI. It's one of their signature programs. It's outreach, education, and also anti-stigma, to break down the stigma. Because we know through research that a good way to break down stigma long-term is positive personal contact, and I emphasize that, positive personal contact. So it's really structured into 5 sections: dark days, acceptance, coping skills, success, hopes, and, treatment. Acceptance, treatment, coping skills, success, hopes, and dreams. And that was the first time I really got to tell my story, and it was structured in 5 sections along with a video. Well, the video's not up there, but a video that would help share a story and walk it through those days. For a lot of people, it's the first time they've ever had anybody actually tell their story about living with a severe mental illness. And it's interactive, so after each section, they get to ask questions, and whether it's people dealing with a diagnosis, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a professional, but they get to ask questions, and you know, I'm pretty open book. So, and I think at that moment, I remember my success was, you know, because I had lost everything, and so it was really tough, and I was struggling. But the biggest success was making my bed. I mean, I had a bed, and there was a point where I said, you know what? If I can make my bed this morning, the rest will be okay. So I got up, made my bed, you know, and here it is, 8 years later. I've been able to travel across the nation and do these In Our Own Voice programs. I've been a research assistant over at Cal Berkeley with a program over there, specifically looking at stigma and mental illness. Working with a professor over there, Stephen Hinshaw. And still, to this day, including this morning, even though I was running late, I make my bed every morning, you know. And but now I got like 7 pillows, and I got little, what are they, shams or ruffles or whatever, but you know. And every night I gotta take those pillows off. But it really reminds me of when I first, you know, finally got into stability, that making the bed every morning was so vital and important to me that it reminds me every day that, you know, I still do have a diagnosis, but I do get to live well with a diagnosis. So, conclusion, actually, let me do this real quick. Affiliations. So, within the mental health community. I'm a very lucky person, so I get to work with different organizations. One of them is called lets.org. And what we're doing is we're going into high schools, and we're setting the template for high school clubs, kind of after school clubs, whether it's fishing club, chess club, math. Why would you have a math club? But math club. And so what the kids do is specifically look at ways to erase the stigma of mental illness. What we're finding is the kids are embracing it as kind of their cause of this decade or this time to support others. And we do anti-bullying stuff and talk about self-harm and eating disorders. So it's a really good organization, and they've done a really good job. NAMI ACS, I'm a new board member to a new affiliate in Fremont, based out of Fremont, and we're reaching out into the Alameda County area. If you look at it, it says NAMIACS. I don't know, that was NAMIACS. So I'm a board member currently for them. Adversity to Advocacy, I am an alliance member and also a board member. What we're doing is we're showcasing stories of inspiration. It's pretty much web-based. But we're showcasing stories of people that either have dealt with, the founder dealt with OCD, myself bipolar disorder, and then we're going to branch out. But to inspire others in that moment, I know when I first got diagnosed, first place I went to was the internet. And this is a media format where people can go and see stories of people like our other speaker we had a little bit earlier that had dealt with a mental illness and yet have overcame, and now we're moving on and we're doing advocacy work. And we also want to showcase the people that are doing advocacy work and say that, by helping others, by doing this, keeps me healthy, so by helping others, it helps ourselves. Go back. In conclusion, so NAMI supports families dealing with mood disorders through those different programs, people dealing with mood disorders, and another thing that's happening in the last, few years for a while, what we're doing is we're finding out ways to give or let consumers, clients, make some money through stipends, through programs, through peer-to-peer, and really trying to get people like myself back engaged into the community and get that self-esteem up and that self-worth. So, and also professionals working with individuals with mood disorders, or maybe they have mood disorders, I don't know. But so professionals working amongst the community. So we also advocate for more research. So that is my presentation, unless there's questions.
For more, please visit us at stanford.edu.